What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Real Word Podcast, a place where real thoughts, real ideas, and real words come to life. I am your host, Drew, coming from San Diego, California. Thank you for stopping by, tuning in, checking out the channel. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Hit up those links down below. And now we can get into the episode. It is Friday, December 11th, 2020. It is around 9 o'clock in the morning. Welcome in, everybody. First episode of the Real Word Podcast this week. Had a little, just personal stuff going on. Some family member just randomly showed up late last week, on the weekend, I want to say. And yeah, so that just kind of threw everything off a little bit. I was just trying to see how to adjust and all of that. But I did end up getting Tuesday morning tokes up. Did end up doing an episode with Zach. And man, okay, first shout out, go to @the_No World Order podcast, or check out the audio from Missing in Panama, Chris Kramers and Lizanne Froon. Go check out @the_No World Order podcast. Check out the IGTV, or you can check out the audio here on this channel on the IG audio only playlist there. So go check that out. That was an interesting episode, but go follow @the_No World Order podcast on Instagram. Give that a follow. Go leave a comment under the latest IGTV. This one that I was just talking about, the missing in Panama, the girls Chris Kramers and Lizanne Froon. That was a really interesting episode, man. Zach told me he's been kind of invested in this case for like 2.5 weeks now, something like that. Just can't get enough of it. And as soon as I started researching into it, looking into it, I can't get enough of it either. There's just a lot of inconsistencies going on with the case. A lot of just weird anomalies going on and things that just don't quite make sense. And it never will make sense because, both of these females were found dead, at least their remains, some of their remains were found. And yeah, it's just not a good story, not a good situation, but it is fascinating when you actually look into it. There's just a lot of just weird instances that went on within that case and within that 10-week period from them going on the hike to them being found. Just one of them was found with a shoe and her foot still in it, and one was just found with a half of a pelvic bone and the 10th rib. So just weird stuff going on. Again, if you want more details, more information, go check out the Instagram IGTV, or if you just want the audio only, it is up now, so go check that out as well. So yeah, we did get that episode in, so shout out to Zach for coming in. I know he has some personal stuff going on. I know he's mentioned it before, but I'm not just gonna talk about his business like that, but he has some stuff going on, so he's not exactly sure if he was able to do it, not able to do it, but it was cool. We ended up getting it done. What else are we gonna go over? We're gonna talk, just highlight. Well, I guess since I haven't listened to it, let's just get into it right now. There's a couple new albums that were released from a couple of my favorite artists. Kid Cudi released Man on the Moon 3. So shout out to Kid Cudi. I have not listened to it yet. Planning on doing so probably after this. And from what it sounds like, there's going to be an additional one as well, because from what I heard or something like that, to be continued. So we shall see what happens with that saga. I just know the first one, Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon, I love that album. I still stay on that album. Like that 2008, 2009 time frame is just where I live at musically for the most part, I just love that time period. I love the artists I was listening to at that time period. I love the music that was released during that time frame. And it's hard to move past it. Like, I just really enjoyed those songs. And Kid Cudi was definitely one of them. Charles Hamilton, B.O.B., Asher Roth. You know, there was that freshman class right there that was just probably one of the best, in my opinion. But, yeah, shout out to Kid Cudi, Man on the Moon 3. I'm definitely going to be checking that album out. And then another one, Charisma, or Call Me Charisma, released an album, To Hell with Hollywood. And yeah, I haven't listened to that one either yet, but I'm excited to check both of those albums out. But yeah, I'm interested to see the direction Charisma has gone in with this album. It should be interesting. It should be an interesting highlight onto where he's at with his career and the state of the country and things like that. So I'm really interested in actually diving into that album as well. So again, you know, I love music from 2007 through 2011, 12-ish. Like, I love that time period. But again, like, Charisma came later. And I think Mod Sun came later, MGK came later. So there's like a handful of artists that came later, you know what I mean? But there's just certain albums, mixtapes, songs that I just stay on, that I just constantly keep in rotation, you know? But yeah, shout out to Kid Cudi, and I don't know if he goes by Charisma, Call Me Charisma, whatever. I knew him when he was Charisma, just straight up Charisma. When he was touring with Mod Sun and Nash and those guys. There was one tour when they were all together. And yeah, that was my introduction to both Nash and Charisma. And yeah, so it was cool. But yeah, let's get into kind of what else we're going to go over. We're going to talk about YouTube removing certain videos. We're going to go over this Texas lawsuit a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about that COVID vaccine, California lockdowns, and then we're going to end it with a little bit of San Diego Padres talk. So, got a handful of articles to go over and read through, but yeah, I guess we can just start getting into it. I have my Freedom Roast from Black Rifle Coffee Company. And this is a good one. I haven't had this one. We haven't got this one delivered yet until just this last time. We've been trying the Fit Fuel. We've been trying the Murdered Out, the Blackbeards. Been trying a few of the different ones. And yeah, this Freedom Roast is really good as well. It has a little more of a darker roast flavor, in my opinion. But I enjoy it. I enjoy the darker roast. But I will say that Fit Fuel, the first one I had, is a medium light roast, and that was fire, man. I loved that one a lot too. But each cup of coffee I've had from Black Rifle Coffee Company has been amazing and delicious, so shout out to them. Can always go get on their subscription service, and yeah, it's good stuff. I highly recommend it. And you know, if you're a veteran and you support that type of outlet and a company that's veteran owned, operated, gives back to veterans, police, all that, this company would be for you. Plus, they freshly roast the beans like 2 or 3 days prior to shipping, so you get it within 3-4 days of it being roasted. And man, it's really good stuff, fresh, and just a really good cup of coffee. So shout out to Black Rifle Coffee Company for sure. So let's get into a couple of these articles. So first we're going to talk about YouTube. This is from Reuters. YouTube to remove new videos that falsely claim fraud changed U.S. election outcome. YouTube said on Wednesday it would start removing content. Said on Wednesday it would start removing content that falsely alleged widespread fraud changed the outcome of the U.S. presidential election, and a change to its more hands-off stance on videos making similar claims. The update, which applies to content uploaded from Wednesday, comes a day after Safe Harbor, a deadline set by U.S. law for states to certify the results of the presidential election. YouTube said it would start enforcing the policy in line with its approach towards historical U.S. presidential elections. Online platforms have been under pressure to police misinformation about the election on their sites. YouTube, owned by Alphabet Inc.'s Google, was widely seen as taking a more hands-off approach than Facebook Inc. and Twitter Inc., which started labeling content with election misinformation. YouTube labels all election-related videos. After the November election, Reuters identified several YouTube channels making money from ads and memberships that were amplifying debunked accusations about voting fraud. Last month, a group of Democratic senators asked YouTube to commit to removing content containing false or misleading information about the 2020 election outcome and the upcoming Senate runoff elections in Georgia. Asked about how the policy would apply to Georgia elections, a YouTube spokeswoman said this policy only applied to the presidential election. YouTube said in a blog post on Wednesday that since September, it had removed over 8,000 channels and thousands of misleading election-related videos for violating its existing policies. The company said more than 70% of recommendations on election-related topics came from authoritative news sources. YouTube also said that since Election Day, fact-check information panels had been triggered over 200,000 times on election-related search results. So this is just interesting stuff, man. It's not cool. I don't know. I'm just not into them kind of banning certain information. And who's to decide what's true and what's false? We've already seen a number of these fact checkers be completely wrong or just link to a generic government website that says, oh, voter fraud. I forget exactly what it says, but it's basically saying, oh, voter fraud is being disputed or something like that. Like, the results of this election is being disputed, and it's just super general, and it doesn't even pertain to a handful of the videos that I've seen kind of discussing some of these topics about voter fraud or irregularities or anything like that, and it just gives this generic response to every single one of them. It's like, it's not even pertaining to what the video is really saying. So to me, that just doesn't make sense. It's really frustrating. And this is just kind of the beginning of, there's not going to be any new channels to be able to get popular on YouTube. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if mine doesn't get popular because of the things that I talk about and, their new guidelines and rules to things and how they're going to limit people from growth, basically. That's what it kind of sounds like. And they're going to take off channels that don't align with their points of views, and then you get into a really scary situation, and I don't really like where that's headed. It seems like a very slippery slope, a scary situation, but seems like other people just kind of fall in line with it and just go along with it, and that's kind of where we're at. And I don't know exactly what can be done because they are a private company, and I believe, unlike Twitter or anything I do believe YouTube is a publisher, so they have the right to do that, but I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I just know there's that discussion. Should Twitter be allowed to remove or block stories or anything like tweets being out or anything like that? If they're not a publisher, if they're just a platform, they shouldn't have the right to do that. But if they're a publisher, then I guess there's different rules and laws that are applied. But I don't know. I just don't like how, certain videos are kind of being targeted and being deleted. Channels are being deleted and videos being deleted and all sorts of stuff. I've been seeing hundreds of Joe Rogan videos have been deleted. I haven't been able to verify that myself, but that's what it sounds like. That's what I've read. And what videos are those and why? And, what's the reason behind that, if that is true? Who knows? It seems like, this whole YouTube platform is just getting a little suspect. I mean, not that it hasn't been, but I don't know. It's just strange times, I guess. That's kind of all I can really say is strange times, and we just kind of gotta see how everything plays out. So that's what's going on with YouTube. They are, making those changes, and I don't like it. I know I don't like it, but I'm sure some people do. So let's move on to this Texas lawsuit. This is from Fox News. I mean, there was a handful of articles kind of pertaining to the same thing, so I just chose this one. I know some people love Fox News, some people hate them, especially now. Even some conservatives are hating them now. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just getting the article and the information. I don't necessarily care too much where it comes from. Not too much, If it's not like some crazy story and like, okay, I'm not going to go to there. But if it's like a more reputable place, then I'll check it out for sure. Just for the article, That's what it is. So it says Missouri, 5 other states asked to join Texas in Supreme Court election fight against swing states. President Trump's election challenge remains a long shot, legal experts say, but 5 additional states announced Thursday that they not only support a Texas lawsuit to overturn key Joe Biden battleground victories and hand them to President Trump, but they want to become parties to the suit themselves and take their own case to the Supreme Court to, quote, represent the interests, end quote, of their own citizens. The states include Missouri, Utah, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, and Arkansas. The states also said they backed the argument so far made to the court by Texas and the Trump 2020 campaign, which have argued that not only are the actions taken by Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan unconstitutional, but they also open up the potential for widespread voter fraud. Uh-oh, is this video gonna get deleted? Uh-oh, we'll see. Hopefully not. I'm just reading quotes, Just reading an article. Quote, all the unconstitutional changes to the election procedures identified in the bill of complaint have 2 common features. 1, they abrogated statutory safeguards against fraud that responsible observers have long recommended for voting by mail. And 2, they did so in a way that predictably conferred partisan advantage on one candidate in the presidential election. The Missouri brief from Wednesday, which was joined by 16 other states. In other developments, Pennsylvania accuses Texas of trying to decimate the electorate. Texas GOP Representative Chris Roy is not joining the election lawsuit. Pence says Trump deserves his day at the Supreme Court. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris named Time Magazine Person of the Year. Time Magazine announced late Thursday that it named President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris its Person of the Year in a profile that was fiercely critical of President Trump. Yeah, what the hell is this? A Person of the Year and it's 2 people? This makes no sense. And then it's super biased and super favorable of them and just kind of against Trump. It's a little ridiculous. Charlotte Alter, the author of the piece, wrote that Biden's pledge to, quote, restore the soul of the nation, end quote, felt like antiquated hokum at a moment when Hurricane Trump was tearing through America, ripping through institutions, chewing up norms, and spitting them out. The pics will likely be embraced by Democrats who see the pair as a return to normal in Washington, but criticized by Trump supporters who will likely see the move as another sign that the Biden administration will benefit from a friendly media. 100%. If just in that article alone, you can just tell the bias, and that's just not cool. It's not cool. In other developments, Biden's pick to head to Veterans Affairs sparks backlash. Hunter Biden raises new stakes for Attorney General pick. AOC knocks Biden's agenda as a little hazy. This percent of voters see Biden's win as legitimate, but we're not going to get into all of that. St. Louis Circuit Attorney off McCloskey gun case after using it for fundraising. Okay, I think that was it, kind of with the lawsuit article. It was just going into some other stuff that I don't think is really relevant to what we're talking about. But it is interesting. We're seeing a handful of states join Texas, and then, the 4 battleground states kind of standing still and wanting that challenge as well. I don't know. It just seems really strange. Like, we're in this weird times. And I heard something about 17 or 18 states kind of joining up as well as kind of being, I forget the term that they exactly used, but not as a party, but kind of as help, or I forget the exact name of what they said it was. I was listening to some stuff yesterday on it, but there was something about 17 or 18 states kind of joining as well, but not formally joining. Again, I forget the name of what they call it when they're joining onto the suit, but not fully. Like they're showing their support or something like that. So there's just interest. It's like half the country is just straight up divided, man. It's really interesting to kind of see how all of this is playing out. It really is. I don't really understand it. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot that's going on, and it seems like the media is just kind of silent on this, and they're just moving on. They just keep going on to COVID stuff now, when it's like, this is really happening, and yeah, if this gets to the Supreme Court, if it does get heard, I think some real changes will be made. Could happen, might not. If we're gonna go based off like normalcy, nothing's gonna happen. Joe Biden will end up being president and sworn in on the 20th. But this is 2020. Things are not normal this year, So I could also see, if it going to the Supreme Court, things getting changed around, and like Trump or not, I don't think he's the worst person ever, I don't think he's that bad. I think he was doing really good for the country. And I didn't vote for him. I was not going to vote for him. I don't believe in the two-party system. I've said it many, many times. But I do hope it gets turned over just to show how bad the media is, just how terrible and misleading the media is. I would love for that to happen, just in spite of the media, just to show how terrible they are and how much of a cooperation they had together as media and the Democratic Party to kind of force something upon the people. And if that gets flipped and turned and Trump is president, oh my God. I'm not saying I'd be happy or anything like that. Either way, like, it's whatever. I don't like Biden. I don't like the policies or anything like that. But and again, I wouldn't vote for Trump. Didn't vote for him. But I don't think he's like the worst thing ever, like a lot of people do. So it'd just be great to see a lot of those people who are, yes, Biden won. Oh, finally, Biden. Oh, Kamala Harris. All that. And then if it gets overturned a couple months later, I'd just be laughing. I would just be laughing hysterically and just be like, oh yeah, this is great. This just shows how bad the media is at their job, calling Biden president-elect even though nothing has been certified or anything like that. Nothing has been finalized. A little ridiculous, a little crazy. My guess, nothing ends up happening and Biden does become president, but we shall see what happens. We shall see what happens. Just got to keep our eye on all of the information coming out. Got to be up to date with it. I will say this about YouTube, Twitter, all this kind of going back to the previous story. When the whole Hunter Biden story came out from the New York Post, I believe it was, and they got banned from Twitter and that article wasn't able to be spread around, saying is like based off of hacking or misinformation. There was like a couple different excuses that they were using to kind of silence them. Then they came out and said it was a mistake. They didn't delete the article, and then they ended up getting their account back. So shout out to them for sticking true to what they believe in and not folding under pressure or anything like that. But now we're seeing that there is some interesting stuff, and Hunter Biden is being investigated. Whether I think it's for taxes, has nothing to do with the laptop thing, but it's taxes and dealings with China and stuff like that. So all the stuff that was being blocked from a couple months ago prior to the election is now being talked about and used. And I know when this first was going down, I saw people like wanting to change their votes because of the Hunter Biden situation and that whole story. But it was too late. You can't change your vote, So the media was doing a really good job at suppressing this information. And now that the election is kind of over and Biden has won, they're talking about this investigation now. It is really strange and just kind of shows what they were doing, and they're saying it's breaking news, even though we've been talking about this stuff for the last couple of months. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me how they can kind of get away with this stuff. It really doesn't make any sense to me, but that's just kind of the game that they've been playing, That's the media for you. So, interesting stuff. Let's move on, though. This is from health.com. 4 people given the new COVID vaccine in clinical trials developed Bell's palsy. Should you be worried? Here's what to know about the condition, which causes temporary facial paralysis, and if a link has been established to the new vaccine. Document released on December 8th ahead of the Vaccines and Related Biological Products Advisory Committee, VRBPAC, meeting on December 10th reveals more details about the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, which is expected to be the first to be authorized for emergency use in the United States. The document reveals that 4 cases of Bell's palsy, a condition that causes temporary facial paralysis, were identified in the study participants who received the vaccine, but in none of the participants who received a placebo. That's interesting, huh? At least one of the patients has recovered, and there's no evidence that the vaccine caused the problem. Here's what to know about the condition. Bell's palsy is caused by impairment of the 7th cranial nerve, one of the facial nerves. It can result from trauma, but more commonly occurs due to viral infection of the nerve itself. Jason D. Hinman, MD, PhD, Assistant Professor of Neurology at the David Geffen School of Medicine at UCLA, tells Health.com. Dr. Hinman stresses that Bell's palsy isn't known to be caused by SARS-CoV-2, the virus that leads to COVID-19. Bell's palsy can affect people of any age, and risk factors include pregnancy, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, and upper respiratory ailments, and a couple other things, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorder and Stroke, NINDS. Bell's palsy symptoms to look for. Bell's palsy usually affects only one side of the face, but it can affect both sides according to NINDS. Symptoms vary, but typically include sudden weakness on one side of the face, a drooping eyelid or corner of the mouth, drooling, an inability to close the eye or mouth, changes in taste, and excessive tearing in the eye. Symptoms appear suddenly and reach their peak within 72 hours. And there's a broad severity spectrum from mild weakness to total paralysis. Bell's palsy is time limited, and patients generally recover quickly in a matter of weeks, Dr. Hinman says. On the spectrum of neurological disease, it is generally not serious, although severe cases can cause permanent facial paralysis. Okay, let's jump down to COVID-19 vaccine and Bell's palsy. Is there a link? Seems like it, but of course they're going to say no, right? Because I don't know why. But it says, none has been established. Quote, I cannot make a direct connection with the vaccine and suspect this is a coincidence. Dr. Hinman says the normal incidence of Bell's palsy is roughly 20 people out of 100,000. The Pfizer study examined 38,000 patients, so 4 cases would be within the normal observed incidences of Bell's palsy. A similar issue arose decades ago when a few isolated cases of people developing Bell's palsy after getting a flu vaccine were reported. However, no study has ever established a link between the flu vaccine and Bell's palsy. But it keeps happening, huh? Keeps happening a handful of times, but there's no link to any of these vaccines and Bell's palsy. Okay. How does that make sense? Should you be worried about the new vaccine causing Bell's palsy? Probably not, since no link has been established. The small number of study subjects known to have developed it dwarfs the hundreds of thousands of people enrolled in the study trials, and as Dr. Hinman says, it may simply be a coincidence. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, that's that story, and I know Pfizer has been sued in the past for misrepresenting drugs for. Let me see if I can look something up. Let me see if I can just look something up real quick. Just bear with me for just a moment. Let's see if I can find anything. Pfizer gets sued in the past. Let's see. Let's see if anything just pops up real quick. Yeah, so I'm finding one. This is from ABC News. Pfizer fined $2.3 billion for illegal marketing and off-label drug case. This is from 2009. So you can see that they've been in controversy and lawsuits going back from 11 years ago. So, let's just read this a little bit. Remember, this is from 2009. In the largest healthcare fraud settlement in history, pharmaceutical giant Pfizer must pay $2.3 billion to resolve criminal and civil allegations that the company illegally promoted uses of 4 of its drugs, including the painkiller Bextra, the U.S. Department of Justice announced. Besides Bextra, the drugs were Geodin, an antiseptic, Zyvox, an antibiotic, and Lyrica, an anti-epileptic drug. Once the Food and Drug Administration approved drugs, doctors can prescribe them off-label for any use, but makers can't market them for anything other than approved uses. Pfizer subsidiary Pharmacia and Upjohn pleaded guilty to a felony violation for promoting off-label uses of Bextra, such as for pain relief after knee replacement surgery. So okay, let's go. As a part of the settlement, Pfizer PFE will pay a criminal fine of $1.195 billion, the largest criminal fine ever imposed in the USA for any matter, according to the Justice Department. Pharmacia and Upjohn must pay a $105 million criminal fine. Pfizer also has agreed to pay $1 billion in civil damages and penalties to compensate federal health care programs for false claims submitted as a result of its marketing Bextra and other 4 drugs for off-label uses or unapproved dosages. Holy shit, and people are just gonna trust this company now with the vaccine. That's insane, right? So I'm glad I looked that up real quick. I knew, and there's more to it too. Pfizer's been in the midst of a handful of these allegations and lawsuits and being sued because of not proper practices. And now we're going to just trust them and have us vaccinated. And we're seeing some coincidences with Bell's palsy, and they did the flu vaccine and people developed Bell's palsy, but they're still not going to say that there's a link between the vaccines and the Bell's palsy. Doesn't make sense to me, man. It doesn't make sense to me, but what do I know? I don't know much. But I try and be as well informed as I possibly can. I try and be informed, but I'm not, educated as far as going to school and college and things like that. I'm not educated like that, but I try and be up to date and well informed on subjects. I love learning and, educating myself. So I don't know. I'm not some super smart guy, but I try and be educated enough to form at least some sort of opinions. And it seems like some of my predictions, opinions, all that is coming true. And that's from being a conspiracy theorist for almost all of my life. We've seen the playbook. We've seen how it is, has happened in the past. And it's not hard to make some of these predictions when you can look back at the past and see how things have been handled before or what's happened before. So, I wouldn't be surprised, give it 10 years, if Pfizer is getting sued for something with the COVID-19 vaccine or something like that. I would not be surprised. But let's move on, get into a little bit more of these local stories here. We got about 15-20 minutes left, so we should be good to go. This is from NBCSanDiego.com. State shutdown orders inconsistently enforced in San Diego and Riverside counties. Differences in how San Diego and Riverside counties are enforcing the governor's stay-at-home order are leaving people who own businesses in both counties struggling to comply. All right. As COVID-19 hospitalizations rise, and ICU availability decreases, there are concerning inconsistencies on how Governor Newsom's stay-at-home order policy is being enforced in neighboring Riverside and San Diego counties. Adam Evans owns indoor rock climbing businesses in both counties. In Riverside, Evans said he's been allowed to operate as local authorities refuse to enforce the state order. Shout out to Riverside. I know I mentioned them in one of my previous videos, but shout out to Riverside for not enforcing the stay-at-home state order. But his business in Vista, which is literally 4 miles away from where I live, has been served with a cease and desist order by San Diego County health officials. Quote, "It's really frustrating. I don't have the time, money, or effort to deal with this," said Evans. Evans is desperately trying to keep both of his businesses operating under state day camp guidelines, but after being served with a cease and desist order last Friday, Evans said San Diego County deputies showed up at his Vista business, The Wall, demanding proof day camp guidelines in fact applied to his business. Quote, "We're following guidelines. We're trying to be responsible and be open. People are wearing face masks, social distancing, staying in cohorts and groups," said Evans. Right now, San Diego County health officials are assessing his eligibility to operate under day camp guidelines, Evans said. Last Friday, Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco made it clear he would not be enforcing the state shutdown order in his county, citing what he called its dictatorial, oh my gosh, dictatorial attributes. Sorry about that. Shout out to Sheriff Chad Bianco for making it very clear that he's not going to be adhering to these the statewide stay-at-home order or whatever. This is what's interesting too. Before we get back into this article and finish this one up, I will say, even here in San Diego, it's so frustrating because, people are getting hit, just right here a few miles away from me. This business is being shut down. But then you have the strip clubs down in San Diego, those are able to be open indoors, and that's able to be happening without any repercussions. I'm sure there's safety guidelines and things like that they're following, obviously, but how is that okay, but a rock climbing facility not okay? Like, what are we doing? That just shows, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I love cannabis. Don't get me wrong. I love cannabis. I think it is an essential thing. Don't get me wrong. But we're seeing like liquor stores, cannabis stores, and that be deemed essential and able to operate. But then a strip club is being able to operate. But then like random restaurants and random other facilities are being forced to shut down and hit with these cease and desists, and it just doesn't make much sense, especially if they're trying to go by the safety guidelines and they're doing everything they can to stay open. It's like a lot of these shutdowns are going to really affect these businesses where they will not be able to come back. So do you really want to destroy the economy and destroy these cities? Or it doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, I'm all about, saving lives, and that's why we need to open up, because more people are being affected by keeping us shut down than the death rate. It's like, and again, the vaccine rates, the highest I'm seeing is like 95%, and your immune system will most likely kill it like by a 99% chance. You know what I mean? So why would we trust something like man-made, like a vaccine that only has a 95% effective rate, when your immune system has a 99 point something percent effective rate? It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I just wanted to point out, it's like you have a rock climbing place that's being kind of forced to shut down, but strip clubs, cannabis businesses, and things like that are able to stay open. It just shows kind of where they want you to be spending your money. You know what I mean? I don't really get it. But let's continue. Quote, the Riverside Sheriff's Department will not be blackmailed, bullied, or used as muscle against Riverside County residents in the enforcement of the governor's orders. Hell yeah, said Sheriff Bianco in a message posted to the department's YouTube page. Regardless of opinion on the orders, COVID numbers in Riverside County continue to skyrocket. Again, I don't give a flying fuck about the case numbers. There can be 5 cases to one person who doesn't even technically test positive. They can be 5 false positive tests, and that all counts as cases. So again, I don't care about the cases. Deaths are one thing, but we already know that they've manipulated those numbers early on as well, so we can't trust really anything that's being presented to us as far as it goes with COVID, because we've seen the manipulations from the very beginning. So I don't care about the cases or the death rates, honestly, but what I do care about is people committing suicide and losing their livelihoods because of this. We've seen those rates go up tremendously over this last year. In Japan, I want to say in October, there was more suicide deaths in Japan in October, more suicide deaths that month than all of COVID-19 for the entire year. From my understanding, that's what I read. So, are we about saving lives? Do lives matter? What lives matter? Why do only certain lives matter? It just doesn't make much sense to me. So if we really care about lives being saved, we really need to not continue with these stay-at-home orders, and we really need to figure out something else to do. Again, if you want to open up under these guidelines, safety, all that, go for it. That's my saying. And if you're scared, you don't want to, you want to be protected, stay at home, stay at home. But don't force this upon people anymore. It's not okay. It really isn't okay. It's not a good situation. But let's continue again. According to the Riverside County Health Department, ICU availability is at 6.1%, and the case rate is an astounding 47.8 per 100,000 residents. Those figures could potentially impact neighboring San Diego County, but business owners like Evans feel feel they're caught in the middle of the enforcement inconsistencies. For his part, Evans said he'd like to think he's part of the solution. When you come to a place like this, you're staying healthy, you're active, you're boosting your immune system by being in an environment versus what? Staying at home and then everybody's hoarding at Costco? What's better? What's better for everybody's health? Evans said. Oh, exactly. I 100% agree with that last quote there from the owner of I think it's The Wall, right? That's what it's called. Trying to find. I think it was The Wall. Yeah. In Vista there. So shout out to the owner, Adam Evans, for, trying to stay open and pushing this message, because this is definitely what's needed, in my opinion. Yeah, you're active, boosting your immune system, staying healthy, but that's not okay. But going to a strip club, that's okay, What are we doing here? It doesn't make any sense. But shout out also to the sheriff, Chad Bianco, in Riverside, for making it clear that he's not going to be enforcing the stay-at-home orders. So shout out to him as well. These are the things that are needed. We need to have people who are strong enough to stick up to these unconstitutional orders, You can't force us to stay home and not operate business, and we have that right as Americans, as citizens of this country. We have the right to do so and move around freely. Like, we have the right to move and travel. We have that right. So for them to infringe upon that kind of stuff is just insane to me. But we're just in these strange times. I've said it before earlier this episode. We are just in some strange times. Nothing is normal this year in this 2020. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? But let's finish up this episode with this is from NBC San Diego as well. I think that last article was as well. Yeah. Talk a little bit of Padres. Machado, Tatis named first team All MLB. So shout out to both of those guys. The growth of Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. helped elevate the Padres to the postseason in 2020. On Wednesday, their efforts landed them in elite company. San Diego's star infielders were named first team All MLB. The collection of talent honors the top players at each position. Machado, a finalist for National League Most Valuable Player, ranked third in the NL in runs batted in, 47, and home runs, 16, and fourth in hits, 68. The star third baseman hit 304 with a 950 OPS. He also won a Silver Slugger, and was a finalist for National League Gold Glove. Tatis, a fellow Silver Slugger winner, finished 2020 ranked second in NL in runs, 50, and homers, 17, while sitting fourth in RBI, 45, and stolen bases, 11. The 21-year-old finished with a batting average of .277 with a .937 OPS. Defensively, the 21-year-old tied for the major league lead in outs above average with 7. The All-MLB squad debuted in 2019 with closer Kirby Yates earning a spot on the list. Starting pitcher Dinelson Lamet and second baseman Jake Cronenworth were also finalists. I know Dinelson Lamet got named the second All-MLB squad, something like that. So the Padres have a great team, and it's cool for them to start getting some of this recognition. Machado and Tatis. I really wish Jake Cronenworth would have got that big NL Rookie of the Year. He ended up not getting it. A little unfortunate. He got all of the other little National League Rookie of the Years, and even voted by his peers as the National League Rookie of the Year, but when it came to the big one, he got beat out. So that was a little unfortunate. And shout out to Dinelson Lamet as well. I know things probably would have been a little bit different if he didn't end up getting injured and he was able to have a couple more starts under his belt. But this squad, this team, this core group of guys is going to be a really great team in the future, and I'm excited to see what they bring this next season. I'm hearing that the DH is not going to be implemented this year, but I'm hearing that it possibly could. So we'll see what happens with that. I think there's some like collective bargaining agreement or something going on, the Players Association, something going on where they got to talk some things out and winter meetings. I don't know exactly what's going on, but I know there's kind of like teams aren't really exactly sure which way it's going to be going. Right now, I believe MLB saying like it's not going to go forward with the DH, the universal DH, but things could change. So it's interesting to see. I'm really excited to see the Padres this coming up season and where they end up and what moves they make. If they get rid of some of these guys, bring in some newer guys, we'll see what happens. But I think if you keep a good core group of these guys and let them just continue meshing with each other, I think this team will be a problem. But you never know. Baseball all sports are ever changing, and you can never be too certain on one thing, So interesting stuff. Again, shout out to the Padres, man. Shout out to the San Diego Padres. I can't wait for baseball season to be starting up again. But hopefully this next season goes more smooth. Longer season again. I don't know, but I enjoyed the shorter season. It was good. A nice condensed season. I enjoyed it. Why do we need the 100-something games? It doesn't make sense. I don't know. We'll see if any other changes end up happening over this next season. What they keep, don't keep, things like that. It should be interesting. But that is kind of all I had for today. What else am I going to do today? Man, I really need to start working out again, going on runs, hitting the bag, all that. I've just been super lazy and not wanting to do it. I've been just kind of a little bit depressed as well. I really need to make some income. My unemployment benefits ran out, and now I have like nothing. I just have less than like $1,000 left. Haven't even paid rent, so I don't know. Things are getting a little dicey. No word from the 2 jobs I wanted, and I don't know. I don't know what to do, man. Things are just a little crazy, and I don't know. I don't know, but think I'm gonna, I have to do some sort of working out, and I was probably gonna clean our windows here at the house just to do something, keep me in the groove of the window cleaning, because, I can always do that if people want it, but that's where I'm at. That's what I got going on, so nothing else is really going on here. I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Again, check out @the_No World Order podcast. And I should be back on Monday for another episode of the Real Word podcast. Tuesday morning tokes on Tuesday. And then we'll see about the No World Order podcast next episode. We'll see. It's all kind of up in the air with Zach and his whole thing going on right now. So that is it. I got to get out of here. And until next time, everybody, have a great weekend. Peace.